Are you still there? It got real quiet.
Who, me?
Now. Hey there, beautiful people. Welcome to FANTI, the podcast for all those complex and complicado conversations about the gray areas in our lives. I am Tre'vell Anderson.
And I am switching between windows on my computer screen, Jarrett Hill. It is great to be with y'all one more time. Glad to be in the service just one more time. We are doing something that we do on occasion around here. We're having a conversation about the 50th anniversary of hip hop, but we are going to spend the entire hour in a conversation. To be truthful with you, we pre-taped this interview, and as we were in it, we were like, we should just keep going, as these things often happen for us.
Well, I think that was more your take, because remember, you texted me, but I didn't see the text message. I was just like, let's wrap it up. But, as you will hear, our two guests, okay, they're great conversants, okay? Fabulous story, great incisive cultural critique. Listen, baby, this is a good one, all right? Go on and tune in.
Okay, we got to take a quick moment here to take a break. We're going to get into an advertisement, and we're going to get back into this conversation because there's so much to talk about.
The human mind can be tricky. Your mental health can be complex. Your emotional life can be complicated. So it helps to talk about it. I'm John Moe. Join me each week on my show, Depression Mode with John Moe. It's in-depth conversations about mental health with writers, musicians, comedians, doctors, and experts. Folks like Noah Khan, Swisher Zameda, and Surgeon General Vivek Murthy. We talk about depression, anxiety, trauma, imposter syndrome, and perfectionism. We have the kind of conversations that a lot of folks are hesitant to have themselves. Listen, and you won't feel as alone, and you'll have some laughs, too. Depression Mode from Maximum Fun at MaximumFun.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Alrighty, welcome back, beautiful people. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, which if so, say hello to Patrick Starr for me, you know that this year, 2023, the year of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, is the 50th anniversary of the Hippity Hops. And in service of acknowledging this milestone, there have been so many articles, so many profiles, so many award show tributes to the genre. I wanted to dive a bit deeper into this moment, though, because I'd like to talk a little bit about what might not be getting enough focus as we look back on the yesteryears of this genre. And as you might imagine, this is a very complex and complicado type of conversation, and there were two people who came to mind that I figured would be perfectly suited for us to kiki with this about. You may know him as one half of the pioneering rap duo, the Freaky Boys, and you may know her as the author of Bad Fat Black Girl, Notes from a Trap Feminist. Together, they host a podcast that I enjoy oh so very much called Purse First, where they talk about the girls and the gays who rap. Welcome to the pod, Prince Pierre and Sesali. How are y'all?
Yes, intro.
Hey, I have to share a fun fact with the audience. So Pierre has 2 books on his mantle, and it is my book and your book, Tre'vell. Period. The synergy of this is just right where it needs to be.
The only 2 books on my mantle.
Now you sound like you are bragging about that, Pierre. It's just ain't no more books in the house?
Oh, I have tons of books in the house, but
okay.
I display 2 for the public for when I
Yeah, I know you are a learned individual. So I just wanted to clarify for the people.
I was listening to your intro and I was like, oh, they use big words on this podcast. Totally different from Purse First, baby. Totally different.
Baby.
Cut it out.
Well, that was the scripted open. You never know what happens once we get into the questions and conversations. So don't get too uppity on us here.
Okay, so to get us started, we always have an opening question to kind of, set the stage for the discussion. And I decided to take a page out of the book of Brown Sugar and ask you when did you fall in love with hip hop?
Whew, Cecily, go first.
Okay, because I do know the exact moment for me. And it had to be when I heard Trina's verse on Nan.
Oh my God.
For the first time. that literally just like broke something open for me. And, I had been, I had obviously heard hip hop before as a Black girl, growing up in the 90s in Chicago, but hearing that verse, learning that verse, the energy of that verse, like it was when I understood that like women had a place within the conversation of hip hop in that way that just like broke something open for me. That was definitely the moment I fell in love.
Can we stay there for another second? Like, tell me about that moment happening for you. Like, where were you? Like, how old were you? What do you remember about it?
So I specifically remember that I was in around the 4th grade, and I remember hearing the obviously like the radio edit first. So like, first of all, these kids these days will never know that like us as young people, we used to gather together in person at like parties and events like in the neighborhood. Like we would like call each other up, go to people's houses. And I think at this time I was actually living with my granny for a little bit. And my granny lives in the suburbs. So there was this actual like a barn like out and they would like throw, parties for the kids there. And so, that was just one of the songs that like I knew the radio version of. And I remember like that there would be reactions from adults when it came on that I wasn't fully piecing together. But we again are also, we were of the internet at that age. So like at that time we at least knew how to go look up like song lyrics. And so when I heard the explicit version, oh baby, I was like, I don't know the specifics of every single thing that's being said, but the fact that she said it, I mean, I was putting a lot of two and two together. But I mean, like, no, a lot of it though, I just wasn't at a place where I could comprehend. Like Trina fucking 5 or 6 best friends, like that did not seem like I couldn't understand. I always thought it was like a hidden meaning, like, oh, this must mean something else that I don't know about. And it actually took me getting older, like, nah, she was just talking about like she could just fuck 5 or 6 best friends.
Right.
Shout out my nigga Gucci. Like, I don't know what to say. Like,
listen, how you doing? Okay.
So to your point about the radio edit, I remember Can I Get A and hearing like the radio edit and the video edit all the time and then hearing the real one and being like, oh, is that what they're saying? Like, I just had no idea. Pierre, talk to us about when you fell in love with hip hop.
I remember when I started liking hip hop.
He was a gay hotep. He was a gay hotep. That's what he was.
I was in, as y'all know, I used to be a poet. I used to do spoken word. So I was very like Tupac. I see no changes. I wake up in the morning and I ask myself, is life worth living? I really was. I really was. And then I had a young mom. Everybody knows my mom had me super, super young. And just like Sesali, my mom's favorite song is like by Trina, Nan. So my mom used to go around the house rapping that. So I knew hip hop. And I was liking it, but I didn't love it. And then when I burst out that closet and became like the Pierre y'all know today, Little Kim just really took me over the edge with like Big Mama Thing. Like I used to be scared of the chick and now I throw lip to the chick. That kind of just took me to a place where I never turned back.
He acting so demure.
And now I'm one half of the Freaky Boys. So yeah, so that's when Lil Kim really made me love hip hop. It's crazy because I'm a barf now and I barely mention Little Kim, but
Facts. I will say this though. I do have to add like one small caveat to this. I have to say that because Pierre and I are both from Chicago, I will say that we might actually be overlooking something important because we grew up on a form of house music called like juke music, like juke tracks, like the tracks that you like footwork to and like bob and hip roll and stuff. And that was definitely just like a part of the sound of Chicago, and it is also a form of hip hop. So I do want to say that I answered that question definitely thinking about hip hop from a mainstream perspective, right? And it's definitely like that Trina entry point. But I will say for me, like I probably fell in love with hip hop through the elements of like Chicago music and like Chicago juke tracks, and that really like changed the game for me. And I would probably say for Pierre too, because Pierre actually used to be a dancer and they used to dance to all of that. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. Jared, what about for you? Jared said before we started recording that when we were producing that he did not, that you couldn't think of something like a moment, like you weren't sure whether or not you are in love with hip hop. Do I have that right?
Well, like We were both saying this in the meeting. Don't the way you just threw me under the bus though. The way that you tried to attack me as a light skin. You see this dark on light crime. You see what that was? You tried to light skin me, and I don't appreciate it. Listen, I remember like loving a lot of hip hop music as I grew up, but like I never felt like immersed in hip hop culture until like maybe like college when I was like paying more attention. But like to this day, like California Love is one of my favorite songs, right? I'm a Bay Area kid. I love like E40 and Too Short, and like now I love E40 and Too Short more now than when I was younger. Like E40's voice used to irritate me. The way that he talk all the time, and I'd be like, and I'm like, what's happening, right?
That's more than fair.
I shade E40 all the time.
But I love it now. Like when I hear it, it's nostalgic to me, right? Even if I didn't necessarily always love it, but I knew all the songs, and if they came on, I was gonna be in it. Like I'm from the Bay, right? So I've kind of always grown up with hip hop, but I've always, when we were talking about this, I was like, I wonder how I would answer that question. What about you, Tre'vell?
Me, so yes, I was trying to figure out my answer for this, and then I started thinking about like what's like the hip hop song, the rap song that like I first learned like the full lyrics to. I should say, for context, I'm a church girl, okay?
I was just finna say, Tre'vell is a PK. Ain't you? Like, you was listening to Stomp by Kirk Franklin. That's Tre'vell. That's Tre'vell hip hop.
Yes.
Do you need a revolution? Woo, woo. Do you need a revolution? Sick and tired of my brothers just killing each other. Sick and tired of my...
I mean, Kirk Franklin, hold on. Okay, but hold on. Because Kirk Franklin... not too much, because Kirk Franklin was soliciting the people to come do a quick little 8 or 16 on them gospel songs. There was hip hop in the spirit of them Kirk Franklin songs, if not explicit verses.
I'm the same kid, right? Like, I remember the first time I heard Kirk Franklin stomp on the radio. My uncle, like, it was on our hip hop station in the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. And my uncle, like, it came on and he turned it up. He was like, Jared, who do you think this is? And I was like, I didn't know who it was, right? It was the first time I'd ever heard Kirk Franklin, but we are cousins with MC Hammer. I've never met MC Hammer. I don't know him. Like, we're not homies, right? He knows my dad, but...
Okay. I'm sorry. I have to pause you right there, Jared, because ain't Sweetie also supposedly cousin with MC Hammer? Is this just some y'all niggas in the Bay Area, all the light-skinned people out there think y'all cousins with MC Hammer? Is that... Because I'm starting to feel like that's just a lie that niggas in the Bay Area tell. Who brother is MC Hammer in your family?
Did these niggas come on my show?
Show me the ancestry DNA. We need the DNA. We need the ancestry DNA.
I love it.
I'll call my Aunt Ruby, who is married to her uncle. Like, we're cousins, and like, anyway. But like, we heard the song, and he asked me like, who did I think it was, right? And I was like, I don't know, like Hammer, right? Like, it sounded like MC Hammer at that time. Cousin Hammer. And so I was like, I was thinking that same thing, and that was kind of my introduction there. But Tre'vell, go ahead.
Well, no, I was gonna. That was y'all circumvented the story that I was gonna say, and went straight to the punchline, which I appreciate for myself. So shout out to Kirk Franklin. I was gonna say that I feel like my real entryway to the hippity hops was a Kirk Franklin moment. When he had what's that girl name? Salt, or was it Pepper? Whichever. Salt. It was Salt. Cheryl. He had Cheryl on his on that song, and I said, "Ooh, what is this?" But the first song that the first rap that I memorized, I hope this doesn't make me a barb, but was
it does. It does.
It was Moment for Life, Nicki Minaj's verse on Moment for Life. Baby, listen, bar for bar. I said, oh, there's something here. And Nicki Minaj was actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the first concert I bought tickets to when I was in college. But, she on some fool shit right now. So, I listen to the podcast first. So, I know what be going on with all of them over there. But anyway.
Not to come for you, Tre'vell, but I would just like to say that there is a very special type of barb whose intro and falling in love with Nicki Minaj is moments for life. I need you to reflect on that this evening for yourself, because I can also say my intro to Nicki Minaj, and you know what got me into, you know what I'm saying, Onika Tanya Morange, the queen of rap. And it was not that.
Was it Itty Bitty Piggy?
It was a song. It was a song. No, it was a song by a gentleman named Radrick Gucci Mane Davis, in which she had a feature verse on a song entitled Slumber Party.
Come on, OGs.
Different entry points, but I think that matters. And the people need to we're talking about history of hip hop, so we need to get into those nuances. It matters.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I appreciate that she pointed out that there's a type of person,
Oh yes,
right, that would be brought in by Moment for Life, or I was joking about grand piano, but like, or super bass, right? Like that was an entry point for a lot of people, right? Super bass brought a lot of folks in.
and not even just Nicki Minaj. When we're talking about 50 years of hip hop, there are people who are joining this conversation when their first intro to hip hop is once hip hop became all about charts, and seeing where hip hop is way before all of that shit.
So as we're kind of having this conversation about like our introductions to hip hop, like it's obviously there's you know, a timeline to consider our ages and how old we were when we first started to like be able to absorb and understand and enjoy something. How do y'all see the impact of hip hop on the broader culture? In our book, we talk about the impact of language on culture. I'm curious how y'all think about the impact that hip hop has had in our broader culture. Sesali, I'll let you go first.
So I think that hip hop has become the great mediator and kind of conduit that translates what is happening in Black culture to the mainstream. And I think that that is the biggest impact that it has had on the culture, because if we're being honest about the greatest kind of export of the United States itself, right, is culture. And then the greatest, you know, kind of product that we have to offer is Black culture, right? And I think that hip hop has become so profitable because it is, it has been the means through which that experience has been translated globally. Not even just to the rest of, you know, the United States culture, but also to the world in a way that I think no other medium has been able to do. I'm gonna pause there. I have more to say. I'll save my opinion on, you know, whether I think that is for the better and for the worse, and whether I think it's working. But that's what I think the greatest impact has been, for sure.
Actually, I really agree with you about that, because I know like I had a job on a cruise ship and like got to go into the ports of multiple countries around the world. And like I always remember sitting in a hole in the wall restaurant eating like a whole fish with the head on, and like a taxi cab driving by and it's playing Nelly Hot in Here. And I was like,
Yes.
or like the ways that you see my roommate on the ship was a Brazilian man, and like the only frame of reference that he had for Black folks were Ice Cube and Snoop Dogg, and he was so confused by me. Right? And like that was the only point of entry that he had. He was like, you're not like either one of them. I'm like, you're absolutely right. Right? Like, and so hip hop was the export that had really had influence on him. Pierre, how do you think about the impact of hip hop on broader culture?
It definitely has changed over the years. We all watched hip hop go from this very underground genre of music to, we all say it's mainstream, but to me it's music now. Like, it's more than mainstream. Like, we can't do anything without hip hop. We just watched the VMAs. I'm like, everything is so niggery. Like, oh my God. When you think of the Grammys and the VMAs and all this stuff, you think of like, it's so like, you hearing bongos, you seeing twerk, you see the things people are wearing now, and like, it has changed. And like Cecily said, we'll talk about it if it's for the greater good or bad, but everything is hip hop now. Like, pop stars, you got Fergie trying to rap. They calling her the queen of rap now.
All right, now wait a minute. Let's back it up, because Fergie always could rap. Fergie could hold the cop. We listen. I don't defend many white women. I do not defend many white women, but we not too much on Miss Mama Fergie. Okay.
I know Cecily love Fergie. I know.
One of the things y'all just talked about very briefly that jumped in my head that I meant to say earlier was that because hip hop, right, is more than just rap music. It is more than just, kind of the lyrics and whatnot, the fashion element. I feel like I was a lot more, aware of, the fashion element of hip hop before I, got into more of the music per se. And right, because everybody was trying to wear, you wanted your Coogis or your Jabba jeans or your baby fat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Rockaware.
It's more the way that you said it than anything. Rockaware. Like, what is that?
Listen, it is what it is. Y'all both spoke about whether or not hip hop being this mainstream, export of Black culture is good, or whether it's good or whether it's bad. I'd like to dive right on in there. Not to say that it has to be, I'd have to say that it has to be one or the other. I'm sure that it's somewhere in the middle, in that gray area. But like when you look at the ways that this genre, this world, this culture, that in so many ways has come to represent, what Blackness looks like and can be in the world. How are y'all thinking about those benefits and those drawbacks, Sesali?
So this is something that, and I'm glad you prefaced this with like, it doesn't have to be one or the other, because this is literally something that me and Pierre argue about. Like, I feel like we find ourselves on very different sides of this argument, depending on who we're talking about, depending on the week, depending on what's happened. Like, literally, like this is because I think that for me, first of all, like the question that, especially for this show, the question that always has to be answered is like, in what part of Black culture is being exported or being highlighted, and like who is included and excluded from that conversation. And we can all be very clear about who has traditionally been erased from that conversation for a very long time. And I think we've seen that echoed in these very underwhelming and sleepy ass hip hop 50 tributes that have been happening. If me, myself personally, just, sharing my perspective. But I will also say, on the flip side of that, hip hop became a global commodity, and that was the cost of hip hop being able to be an art form that could allow Black people to experience, and Black artists to experience, financial security, financial mobility. There are plenty of like, so like I really think about like when hip hop became a popular form of genre, it became entitled to all of the kind of broader benefits and perks that accompany pop stardom, right? And so, and also the barrier of entry into hip hop as a pop genre should also look more like what it takes to be a pop star. And so Pierre and I had this argument all the time, because there are some hip hop artists who I really love, who Pierre really don't fuck with, because Pierre feel like, oh, they don't write their own raps. They are not, you know what I'm saying? They wasn't doing the spoken word like I was when I was a hotep, and they don't have they not authentic. They're not real writers, and they don't have to struggle and da. And I'm like, yeah, but at the end of the day, like I can actually appreciate that this person has a very interesting story, a very interesting look. They have an it factor. They're a superstar, and rap is just their chosen medium of how they like express all of that. And like I fuck with it, and like I vibe with that, and I feel it in the music, in the persona, and all of that. And I think sometimes I can get Pierre to come on to the other side, like I said, depending on who we're talking about, because there are definitely, artists who, are not always giving us their hardest bars, but, they just have that star power. But I do think that speaks to the price that hip hop has had to pay for becoming a global commodity, and what that has said for like the authenticity, the conversations around authenticity, and also around gatekeeping and who gets to stamp like what is and what is not real. And I think that's also been a problem with it becoming a global commodity, because truth be told, it has put white people in our business a little bit too much for me. You know what I'm saying? Because then they think that they get to be the stampers. And we literally see that if we look at like the state of hip hop journalism itself, all of the fucking white men who get to write these album reviews and get to do these profiles, list goes on, and all these problematic, abusive ass men who get to be, the titans of hip hop media. Right. So, it really is a mixed bag for me. We've had to pay a cost for it, for sure.
Yeah.
Sesali just preached a a whole entire word. Pierre, I know that you're itching to say something. How do you see this?
Cecily is right. We do argue about this probably every single day. But what I always remind everyone is I am a rapper and I actually came up rapping. So I am very careful with how all of this plays out. I think black people in general, we really have to be careful with like who we invite to the table and who we invite into our culture. You know how you're on Twitter and you see like white people stroll into music like with their Greek letters and you're like, what the fuck is this? That's sometimes what I see when I see like hip hop artists, because sometimes it gets so watered down, they forget where it came from and where it's supposed to be heading, all in the name of mainstream, and we're trying to make this a thing now. I just don't want it to ever get lost. Like Cecily said, these 50-year hip hop tributes were terrible. Were terrible. Were terrible. When you got hip hop for 50 years, we all can name great artists out of these 50 years. We ain't seen them on nobody's stage. We ain't seen them on nobody's stage. We ain't seen Queen Latifah come out of nowhere, LL Cool J come, like we ain't seen none of these people. It's just icky to me when you have these people who don't write. Hip hop and rapping was all about lyrics, and if you ever found out that Maya Angelou didn't write Still I Rise, you will be pissed off
He uses this example every time. Jesus.
because rappers are poets. If you found out today that my Dr. Maya Angelou did not write Still I Rise, you will be like, what?
It's not the same.
I don't think that's a fair analogy.
It's
It's hilarious.
This is why I have this argument. A lot of people don't think it's a fair analogy because they are not rappers.
I get it.
am a rapper, and I know for a
I am also a rapper.
and Cecily is a rapper. I know for a fact, in order for me to say I'm better than you, in order for me to compete in this field, I have to have written my own shit. If I did not write my stuff, I cannot compete with you. I am not a rapper.
And I think that was true in the 70s and the 80s and the early 90s of hip hop. And yes, we can talk about how I mean, yeah, houses also used to only cost $100,000 and now they cost 500,000.
You can't change what is a rapper is. If I
Tre'vell, I feel like you and me could go, and they about to get into it right now if we let them.
Yeah, because I'm mad. Because if I write something for Tre'vell right now and they go out and become a rapper based on some shit I wrote, they are not a rapper. Tre'vell just read some shit on a sheet of paper. It's just like Nilly Vanilli or whoever them people were. It's the same. You cannot say you are a rapper.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this then, Pierre. So your feeling is that you have to write your own music, write your own lyrics to be a rapper.
Correct.
Is that something that is unique to the genre of rap and hip hop? Because like we know that is not consistent throughout music.
Oh, so it's not so singers are based on vocal ability. Rappers are based on lyrical ability. It's two different things. That's why a lot of singers can sing the national anthem all different ways. That's why there's a different singer singing the national anthem every time, and everybody has because they're judged based on their vocal ability. If Nicki Minaj went up there and rapped the national anthem, would y'all think she's a great rapper because she rapped some shit that was already written years ago? If I go on stage and say I'm a rapper and I rap the lyrics to the national anthem, would you consider me a rapper?
What? Okay, so I think that I would not personally, but I think to your point though, you've mentioned a couple times that you are a rapper. I am assuming that our audience don't know those credentials. So I would love to dive into that because I think your experience as a rapper and kind of your lens on the industry from that vantage point also colors this conversation about looking back on the genre and like where it was, what it started as, and the hodgepodge of stuff that it is right now. Tell the people a little bit about your rapping journey, the Freaky Boys. I should say actually before you start.
Uh-oh.
So now I told y'all I was a church girl. I did not know that there were homosexual rappers for a very long time, you know? And the person who I remember having a moment on the internet that like cued me in to there being homosexual rappers. What was the name of that person? The one with the Throw That Boy Pussy song. Young Fly Young Red. And
Oh, Fly Young Red. Fly Young Red. Hmm.
That was my shit too.
you know, that was all the rage on whatever was our version of the Shade Room back in the day. And I remember that unlocking a world of like, oh, there are queer people who rap. And the Freaky Boys was one of the groups that I discovered in that journey to that side. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about like your experience, that group, what that was like for you.
Okay, so for the people who don't know, I started essentially saying my hotel poetry days. I was a poet in high school and through college. I did spoken words where we have to write our own poems. You can't just recite other people's poems. It just doesn't work like that.
Oh, so do you actually write it too? Like,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can't just hand me a poem and I
I
go
didn't know
upstairs.
that. Okay.
Does my
Okay.
sexiness offend you?
Does it come as a
No.
surprise that I answer? Okay.
Because I walk like I got. Okay, no.
Diamond.
So I started as a poet, and I had this love for hip hop. I was a huge Trina fan. I woke up and listened to Trina every day before I went to cheerleading practice. And my best friend had just got out of jail. Don't ask why, but we were heated. We had just got into this like big physical fight. We fought these boys. He went to jail. We got out. And, as a poet, I was like, I have some instrumentals on my computer. Let's just rap. Let's just rap. And he's like, come on, let's rap. Let's talk about these guys. We just fought, blah, blah, blah. We press record on the camera and we are just rapping. We are going at it, talking about the bad bitches we are, talking about how we'll whoop your ass again, blah, blah, blah. We watch it, we laugh. We put it on this brand new thing called YouTube. YouTube is brand new, and we're like, let's try this little thing out. Went to sleep after the video uploaded, and we woke up the next day with millions of views and all of these followers. And people were like, oh my God, I love the Freaky Boys. And we are still college students at this time. So we're going to class, and people are literally pointing at us like, we seen y'all on YouTube. Y'all are the Freaky Boys. Y'all are the Freaky Boys. Y'all are the Freaky Boys. So now we have this label as rappers, and neither one of us decided this career path. We are just officially rappers, and people have given us the name Freaky Boys. So we started making more music. We started writing more music by ourselves, and we started placing them on YouTube. Sooner or later, people started reaching out for interviews. The Breakfast Club, they wanted us to do shows, so we had to officially record music now. And at this time, two gay boys coming into a studio where niggas are all around rolling blunts and smoking weed. And when they press record, we talking about I suck a nigga dick from the back. It was a very different time, very different time. So there was that struggle as well as like
Hmm.
at this time being gay wasn't like how it is today. So some people were like, "Oh yeah, I'm bringing my sister to your show," but we'll see them in the audience. Like I'm like, "Yeah, this one from So we were, and at this time we hadn't studied gays in
Hmm.
rap yet. We just knew us. So once we hit mainstream and we started doing the Breakfast Club and WGCI and we were in Time and all of this other thing, other gay rappers were like basically doing the Lil Kim, Nicki, and Cardi B thing. Like y'all haven't respect us and shown respect to us. Y'all just came into our genre and just took off. So we had to take a step back and realize that there was this thing called out hip hop
Hmm.
where people like Tim West was the first gay rapper and all of these other people were there was a huge lane and underground world of gay rappers, trans women, like all type of people who were rapping, who were underground. And we just studied that for a while, and we collabed with some of those people and gave them their props. And yeah, that was our journey through like this gay hip hop world. And we did open doors for those people you see today, and the Fly Young Reds, and the all those other people who names I won't say, but yeah.
Talk your shit, Pierre. Okay.
Listen, okay, don't get modest and humble now. Like what?
A pioneer. Okay.
I mean, there is a reason. There is a reason why people always say that Freaky Boys are the original City Girls. That kind of duo vibe, talking your shit, like is like a running joke, and that is for a reason, you know.
Okay, we got to take a quick moment here to take a break. We're going to get into an advertisement, and we're going to get back into this conversation because there's so much to talk about. So when I woke up this morning, I had the hardest time getting out of bed, and I did not realize what it was, but it was because it was so cold in the house and it was so warm in the bed because I had my window cracked, and I was so happy to be up underneath my Brooklinen sheets. Brooklinen can help you with your seasonal scaries. The sun is setting earlier and the temperatures are cooling down, but you can curb those seasonal scaries with a cozy Brooklinen setup to settle into each night. You definitely vet who's jumping into your bed. I would imagine you're vetting who's going into your bed, but you know what? Live your life. But you should be giving some vetting to the sheets that are going to be on your bed. Since 2014, Brooklinen has offered premium, well-made linens that are tried and tested, so you only have to worry about who's in your bed, not what's on your bed. You see what I did there? Because maybe you're not vetting. Never mind. Brooklinen offers a whole fleet of sheet options, from linen to flannel, to accommodate all sleepers, cool, hot, and everything in between. And you can use those old sheets for your ghost costume and upgrade to Brooklinen seasonal picks for linens, as well as top of bed, bath, and more. It's no trick. Brooklinen's best-selling linens are sure to curb those seasonal scaries this fall when you visit in-store or online at brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com. Use code FANTI for $20 off your order for $100 or more. That's BROOKLINEN.com. Use promo code FANTI for $20 off.
So when you think of your journey, Pierre, right, in the industry, and we juxtapose that with what you all have already said is like a perhaps inadequate remembering that's currently happening about the last 50 years. I'm wondering, like, or I'll say it this way, what has frustrated you about this moment of reflection, right? Who's not being talked about in this moment that should be talked about? You know, I want to shout out the last season of the podcast Louder Than a Riot, which Sesali, you were on one of the episodes, but that the entire season is so good, looking at particularly like women, queer folks in hip hop and the rules. I forget the setup that they have, but it's so good, y'all. Y'all have to check it out. Louder Than a Riot. But go ahead. When you think about what's missing in this moment, or what frustrates you about how we are remembering, you know, the impact and the journey of hip hop, what comes to mind for y'all?
Okay, I'm gonna just keep it a whole bean with y'all. Like, I'm gonna speak very honestly and candidly about like my reflections on this moment, because you know, I've been trying to keep it cute and let them have a little time until the actual anniversary passed. And I believe we're past the anniversary. I believe it was in like August or September, because it was back to school time. Because shout out to Cindy, who played a huge part in the founding of hip hop. But I actually think that a lot of the hip hop 50 celebrations that I have seen happening across, you know, everywhere, it almost feels like a kind of defiant pushback to the progress that has been made in terms of including queer voices, female voices, non-binary voices in the conversation of hip hop. A lot of these hip hop 50 celebrations have felt like people who now have access, the people who have mostly profited off of hip hop, the black men, straight black men, essentially using this as an opportunity to like throw their resources behind moments that shine the light on like what the good old days of hip hop were like, when they didn't have to include all of this shit with the gays and the women wanted to be anything other than bitches and hoes and wives and mamas for their ass. And like, you know, I don't know, like nobody has said that explicitly because obviously like nobody is trying to fuck their money up and get canceled, but that's what it's felt like. I've never seen a celebration for something that is still so prevalent in society only be focused on like the first 10 to 15 years of its history. So like I'm not gonna hold you, like even when I think about people who are left out of the conversation for the hip hop 50 tributes, I'm even thinking about people like Gucci Mane, people like Chief Keef. Like they have been absent from this conversation in a way that is so disrespectful to me. And that's because them older niggas are still like romanticizing this version of hip hop from the fucking 70s and 80s and 90s, where they thought that trap music was the death of hip hop and that it killed hip hop instead of just it added another layer to it. And then don't even get me started on the glaring absence of female rappers, of queer rappers. I mean, like, baby, y'all already work MC Light to death having her host everything that BET do. Like, y'all actually could have gave MC Light the month off for the 50-year anniversary of hip hop because we know she's still around, and y'all could have maybe had. I mean, even Nicki was not present enough in these conversations that we're having about hip hop, and we have so many people who have like, Pierre's not gonna like this. Pierre, just cover your ears. Even Cardi B, like the moments on the pussy popping that Cardi has done on the charts, as she so eloquently put it, those were wins for hip hop. Those were reflections of how far hip hop has come. If we have a fucking 20-year celebration of the iPhone, we not gonna just be looking at the first 3 fucking iPhones that was made. We're gonna be looking at all of the iPhones and all of the shit. And like that has really irritated me, and it has definitely felt very black man version of "you will not replace us."
I love that. Pierre, maybe sans the feedback on Bel Khalees. How do you think about?
Oh yeah, it is definitely in check. Oh, it is that I am everybody on mute. I am baby. I ain't got nothing to say.
Yeah, please keep
I ain't
your
got
barb in
nothing to
check for this
say.
conversation. Keep your crazy barb in check.
But how do you think about this conversation though about the 50 years?
I agree with Sesali on all of that. It, like I told y'all in the beginning of this conversation, we're missing so much, and this could have been a great teachable moment. One, I didn't even know hip hop was around 50 years. I thought it was older than that. So when all these celebrations came about like 50 years, I'm like, oh, we about to be lit this year because hip hop changed to so many different eras. When you think about how when we were in college and we was lean with it, rock with it, franchise boy, soldier boy, like versus our parents' hip hop, and like it was a very teachable moment to show these white people who are actually putting people like Cardi B on the top of the chart to actually teach them what.
Y'all see how he just threw that shade in there? Y'all see how he just did that? I can't let that moment pass. Cause y'all see, I told him to keep his crazy barb in check, and you see how he had to throw a shot. Go ahead.
It was a very teachable moment to teach these, the people who know nothing about hip hop, who are the main consumers now. Like people don't even know Will Smith is the first rapper to win a Grammy. So like it's so like Will Smith, like people don't even know Will Smith was a rapper.
Shit, Will Smith was also absent. Yeah, Will Smith was also absent from these hip hop 50 conversations, if we're being honest. If
Absolutely.
we're being honest. Like,
Exactly. 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 And how we're not going to talk about Lauryn Hill. No, where is Lauryn Hill? Lauryn Hill played a major part in the success of women and the Grammys and winning the top 4 from Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Like,
It's so interesting that you bring up as you talked about Will Smith. I thought about how like there's a whole generation of people who only know Ice-T as an actor. Right, who only know him from TV, and like Will Smith, the same thing. They only know him as a movie star, right? And have no idea, or only really know Queen Latifah, right, as like a television and film star, and like, and you know, with an Oscar nom and all that kind of stuff, right? But don't know her as. That's so interesting as you say that, because I do think about that.
Period.
Yes. No, like, I mean, I can't tell you how many times me and my friends have been like, who you calling a bitch? And be like in the middle of a conversation, right? Like, so as we wrap up here, I have a bit of an offbeat question to ask y'all, but I've been thinking about this more and more lately. We started off when we all first got online with us talking about Beyonce, and I'm curious how y'all think about Beyonce as in the conversation of hip hop, but like as a.
You mean the unofficial queen of rap? That's what you're talking about?
I feel like Beyonce is always rapping on this music, but never gets credit. So like, Sesali, please take that.
Beyonce has a rap Grammy.
For what?
Beyonce has a rap Grammy. Jared, Beyonce has a rap Grammy. Beyonce has a Grammy in rap. So
It does.
Oh, for Savage, the remix, yes.
The official queen of rap does not even have a rap
Cecily, you might want to chill. You might want to bring it on down. Okay. Exactly. And that's because white people gatekeep and don't get me started.
But how do y'all think about Beyonce in the conversation of like rap? Because I feel like she's not included in that conversation enough.
I mean, I definitely feel like Beyonce is I would not call Beyonce a hip hop artist. I think that she is obviously like, she's married to the person that a lot of people consider, one of the greatest rappers alive and hip hop artists alive. And obviously she raps and raps good, to be honest.
I mean, it's a difference so you calling her the greatest of all time based on how she performed a rap that was written for her. If anybody would have gave us the lyrics to Savage, we all could have said hip tick tock when I dance on my demon time.
So Beyonce didn't write her own lyrics to I've Been On. Don't play with me. Don't ever play with me.
You can tell every song Beyonce wrote herself. I'll just leave that at that.
Shout out to radio.
Shout out to Survivor.
Okay. Anyway, yeah.
They said I couldn't breathe without you. I'm breathing.
Oh God, this is going left. This is.
Either way, I think Pierre and I would agree that Beyonce is not a rapper. She is not, I don't think that, because I also think it's about the intention in which a relationship to rap is, like coming, you know what I mean? Like coming into the game. Like,
or just, you can't just play around with a genre and just be like Lizzo. People say Lizzo is a rap. Y'all think Lizzo a rapper?
I've seen Lizzo positioned in that way, and as like when we're talking about genre and her work, and I've been fascinated by that. I don't know that it works, but I don't know. Yeah.
So I will say this. I was introduced to Lizzo early in like 2017 when a lot more of her indie music actually was more rap-leaning. So I did think that she was a rapper. And then what has happened since then, it's like, I definitely feel like, Lizzo again is a pop star who can rap if she, wants to. I think the person I like to point to is that me and Pierre actually recently came to a consensus on this, that like, okay, Lizzo is not a rapper. She is a pop star who can rap and might rap sometimes. Doja Cat, on the other hand, is a rapper who makes pop music. You know what I mean? Like, I think that everything about Doja Cat in the spirit of, her artistry is very much solidly in the spirit of hip hop. I think especially with this latest rollout.
Right. Our last question for y'all, and you kind of touched on this with Doja. I'm interested to hear from each of you, one or two people that you consider to be like the torchbearers of hip hop today. Whether it is, whether you feel good about that direction or you feel bad about that direction, who would you say are like the folks that are representing what hip hop looks like today or should look like today?
Pierre, you go first. Let's just get it out of the way because we already know. Come on.
Go ahead, Pierre.
Nicki Minaj. Besides, I'm going to be honest, she does a lot of crazy stuff in the media, right? That people look at. But I think the reason I go so hard for Nicki Minaj is because I look at rap. When it comes to rap, Nicki Minaj is the greatest of all time. She's the greatest of all time. Yes, she married someone she didn't supposed to marry. No, she doesn't know how to twerk. Yes, her attitude is terrible. But when y'all ask questions about rap, The reason we have to bring up all this other stuff is because the one thing people cannot fuck with her on is rapping. And that is what I think is the queen of rap. That's who I think the queen of rap is. As far as these niggas, because men are so finicky in rap. Like, ugh. Cecily, go, please.
First of all, Trina. Trina is quite literally every rapper who has come out after Trina, it has been influenced by Trina. Trina is the reason people call themselves bad bitches. Like, let's just really sit with that. And I she there is no word in which she gets the credit that she deserves. Like, because
Mm.
I don't even think that we see,
Mm-hmm.
and part of the reason she doesn't get the credit that she deserves is because we don't see the value in women viewing themselves in the way that Trina taught them to view themselves. So let's just put that on that. Like, people say like she's the mother of pussy rap, whatever you want to call it, she is that. So Trina for sure. In terms of today, I also think these are also names that I've mentioned already, but also Gucci Mane. I really encourage everybody. Like, since we really thinking about 50 years of hip hop, here's a text for you. You need to read the autobiography of Gucci Mane, because so many of the new trap artists, from Migos to Young Thug, so many of them who have then gone on to discover and stamp other artists,
Mm-hmm.
all kind of came up under his tutelage, and all kind of he was the one who kind of reached out and like grabbed for them and brought them in. And he is not the trap god for no reason. Like, he really is like a pioneer of trap music, and trap music has completely changed the game and the sound of hip hop. And then I would actually say that right after him is probably Chief Keef, and what Chief Keef did for drill music. Because now,
Mm-hmm.
now what we see is not only did drill after trap music expand globally in a similar fashion, but then we had all of these offshoots of drill music in different regions. So like London, UK drill music, New York drill music, which are all kind of offshoots of that, but not necessarily the same. But I even think about like Migos, right, and like the triple flow, you know what I mean, and like some of the credit, but like someone had already like primed an audience to hear lyricism in that type of way, and I do think it was Chief Keef.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And like, maybe that's just me being a Chicago girl, but it is what it is. And then lastly, I actually do have to say, Prince Pierre and TT got it. Honestly, of the Freaky Boys, when I look at, you know the queer rappers that we have now, my point of reference for that is always Freaky Boys. I think that Freaky Boys were kind of, because they came up in the industry on the internet. So I do think that there is something really special about that, because the where identity fits into hip hop is so important, and social media's involvement in hip hop, it became a place where we expanded beyond just the lyricism, but into also like identity building and world building. And I do think that like trying to place visually like queer men in rap, like I think that it was the Freaky Boys that did that for a lot of us who are now old enough to be conscious consumers of Santanas, of Kid Kens, of Cakes the Killer, of those type of artists.
So before we go, we need to let people know where they can find y'all more, right? And like, we haven't had time to really get into your book, Bad Fat Black Girl: Notes from a Trap Feminist, but tell people about that book and where they can find you, and then Pierre did the same.
Absolutely. So Notes from a Trap Feminist is part memoir, part cultural commentary. And a lot of the cultural commentary is actually very similar to the conversation we just had. It's me reflecting on my experiences coming of age, like kind of in the early 2000s, in like that trap generation, right? And like what that was teaching all of us about gender and identity and sexuality and like body image, and like what it meant to be in in constant conversation with trap music as, my form of like cultural immersion, and a lot of my, understandings of what it meant to be a woman. And I really pair that with like my deep feminist background, and like am really interested in just reflecting on like how if all of us, like if we really leaned into the world, that is painted for us around like bad bitchery, right, in trap music and hip hop, like how is that like maybe a liberation framework for us, or how is that actually just like more lit than we think it is. Like, who said that hip hop is all misogynistic? Who said that trap music is always homophobic? And who are the people who are going against that, and then how that impacted some of the decisions I made as a little thought in Chicago. So yeah, a lot of it's definitely it's funny, it's insightful, and very aligned with the conversation we just had today. It's available in all bookstores. A lot of y'all be seeing it up in Target. It be in Target. And then you can also follow me at Bad Fat Black Girl on all platforms. Also, my TikTok is all about queer and female rap. So if you're not tuned in to my TikTok, like all I talk about on TikTok is like the rap girlies and what they got going on. So tap in with me there.
You can follow. I ain't got none of that shit. Okay, I ain't got no book. I ain't got none of that. Okay, you can follow me.
Go stream the Freaky Boys. Go stream the Freaky Boys on all streaming platforms. Stop playing. Stop playing.
Oh yeah, go stream the Freaky Boys on. Oh yeah, we everywhere. We everywhere. We everywhere. I don't know what y'all talking about. You can find me Prince Charming P everywhere on social media. My TikTok does not have rappers on there. It's just me naked sometimes. So
yeah, scrunching his eyebrows and standing bow-legged for his pictures. That's it. But I mean, I think obviously the main thing is go listen to Purse First. It's the only podcast that exclusively covers female and queer rap, which is also a damn shame, considering the fact that there are so many female and queer rappers who exist right now. And there is no dedicated show that is just for that doesn't, just inquire about their sex lives all the time. So yeah, Purse First is streaming on wherever you get your podcast.
You can click on once you finish this, go on, click on over to Purse First.
Mm-hmm.
We have covered quite a bit in this episode. We want to know what y'all think. Hit us up on the social media using the hashtag FantiFam. We're on the Twitter, the X, the Instagram, the TikTok, the FanTi podcast at YouTube now. We have our own channel as well. So
wherever you listening to us right now, you can go ahead and listen to them too.
All that, hit us up. Let us know what you think, whether you're in the comments or on the social media. It's coming up, our dishonorable mentions. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Daniel Barwella, Technology and Data Specialist. I'm here with
Kira Gowan, Ad Operations Specialist, and we are both worker owners here at Maximum Fun.
October is National Co-op Month, so we're celebrating our brand new co-op and others with an event called Co-optober.
We've got special events all month long, starting with a live Q&A on YouTube, where Max Fun worker owners will answer your questions on Friday, October 6th, and much more to come.
We also want to tell you about some incredible limited edition merch exclusively available to Max Fun members until the end of October.
If you're already a member of Max Fun, you've shown that you care about our shows and what we do.
If you also want to help launch us into this new cooperative era and show off your support, go ahead and get yourself a hat, pin, or shirt. We worked with some of our favorite artists to make them really special.
For details on merch, all of our upcoming events like Meetup Day and more, visit MaximumFun.org/Cooptober.
That's COOPTOBER.
Happy Co-optober!
Welcome back, beautiful people. Jared, you have got some dishonorable mentions.
I do. So I've actually been DMing with people about this all week. So my first dishonorable mention is going to go to Love is Blind, specifically to the treating of Uche. Uche is a black man on the show, and he's in a relationship with a person named Aaliyah, and she is, I should say, I'm going to try and do this in 30 seconds. So if you have not watched these episodes yet, you can skip ahead 30 seconds on whatever podcast app you're using. I'm going to do my very best, and let's try it starting now. So Uche and Aaliyah broke up, right? Because Aaliyah left the pods after learning some information about Uche. But what ends up happening is the show gets edited in such a way that Uche is presented in ways that I started to question. And then when I looked on his Instagram, I saw he was doing like an Ask Me Anything. And he talked about the ways that he and Aaliyah had actually dated after the show. And they make it seem like they had a fight and ended it. Okay, that was 30 seconds. So he talks about his editing on this show, and it was really upsetting to me to kind of see the ways that things went into the show and the way that they're portrayed to then find out the truth of what happened, right? And so without giving any more of a spoiler, I just want to give a dishonorable mention to Love is Blind for the ways that they're editing Uche. Not that he's a saint, because that nigga was wrong on some stuff, right? Like the way he handled the cheating scandal and all that kind of stuff, like whatever. Anyway, I want to give an honorable mention. Tre'vell's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's fine. I want to give an honorable mention to Avery Wilson. His new single is called Kiss the Sky. Now, for people like me, I appreciate when a song is more than 90 seconds long, especially nowadays. This song is about 6 minutes, and it is beautiful R&B. And I mean, it's Avery Wilson, so the vocals, we already know what that's going to give. It is like true R&B. It is beautiful. It is melodic. It feels like Can We Talk from Tevin Campbell happening for the first time, or like hearing Truth Is or Lose to Win from Fantasia for the first time, or you know what I mean? I know my audience. I feel like it's like Let Me Go from Michael Kilgore. It's one of those songs that
Let Me Go. Sorry, that's my song. That's my song.
It's one of those songs. Kiss the Sky by Avery Wilson is one of those that, like, when you hear it live, it's going to go for a good solid 15 minutes with the band. And when it's over, you're going to still want a little bit more because it was so good. I know that about this song for sure. I also don't know anything about anything, but Avery's going to win a Grammy for this song. And if he doesn't, I'm calling for riots in the streets, and I'm talking hashtag Stop the Steal. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
It's a fantastic song.
We were going there. Whew.
We are.
That's serious.
I also, as I'm mentioning Michael Kilgore, I want to shout out to Michael Kilgore, friend of our show, from our episode really talking about is R&B dead and what does that actually mean. It's called An R&B Funeral, and it also features one of our faves, Never Ending Nina. But Michael Kilgore will be playing Jimmy Thunder early in the Goodspeed production of Dreamgirls. And if we're speaking things over those that we love and the people that we appreciate, the curtain going up on Michael Kilgore's path to his first Tony is on November 10th, starting in Connecticut. And I'm really, really excited to see this. I'm going to figure out how to be there in November. But seeing Michael Kilgore play Jimmy Thunder early.
It's in Connecticut. I Googled.
Listen, in Dreamgirls, like, path to Broadway, this is gonna happen, and I'm so excited.
I mean, I don't know what the black population is in Connecticut, but we got to get all of the black churches to come out, because Dreamgirls in front of a black audience is a very different Dreamgirls than in front of a not black audience. Just saying.
Listen. Okay, we got to get buses. We got to do Souls to the Polls, whatever it takes.
Listen.
To get people to Connecticut to see this. And then finally, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Anita Phillips, who is a trauma therapist and preacher and author. And she has a brand new book out that has gotten some love from Oprah and has really has taken it to the New York Times bestseller list. It's called...
Well, then she don't need no love from us then.
Well...
I'm just kidding.
Damn. Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Wow.
But seriously. Just kidding.
You know what? But seriously. But just kidding. But like, seriously? Her new book is called The Garden Within, and she is a leader at our church in Dallas, the Potter's House, and she preached on Sunday, and like, she does what I see rarely done, and like taking psychology and the experience of God and fusing them together in a way that is just so interesting and powerful. And so she did a word on Sunday that was called The Decision Tree. And for people who are into psych and also like into God and religion, I think you would really, really appreciate it. And so I'm going to put the link to that in our description as well. That concludes my dishonorable mentions. Shout out to all these fantastic people doing great things. And, the people I'm mad at Love is Blind. We thank you all so much for joining us for another episode of FANTI. We hope that you got into all of the conversation. You check out all the things that we shared with y'all. We gave you a lot of things to check out and think about in this episode. If you're watching us on YouTube and you are new to the show, we have 4 seasons of a podcast on all of the streaming platforms. You can go check out at fantipodcast.com. If you have a comment or suggestion about this week's show, you can hit us up on the social medias, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or over over on X/Twitter at FANTI Podcast. Use the hashtag FANTIFam or jump into our comments, or you can send us an email to fanti@maximumfun.org. That felt like a lot of stuff to say.
Well, no, you just like to talk. And if you happen to be in the Los Angeles area on this coming Sunday, Jared and I will be doing a live game show that we have come up with, inspired by our fabulous new book, Historically Black Phrases. The game show is called Historically Black Phrases Live. We have at the time of this recording on Tuesday, a handful of tickets left for free. They're open to, the community, the Black preferred community, because, the name of the event is Historically Black Phrases Live.
Wow.
But if you are interested in joining us, we have posted the link and the information to our social media pages. You can check it out there. If there are still tickets available as you all are hearing this, we will see you then. If not, we'll see you sometime soon. Our music, as always, is brought to you by Corece, OR.ECE. Wherever you get slave-worthy music. Our graphics are by Ashley Wynn and the folks over at Moonhouse Creative. Our editor is Anne Marie Huber, and our producer is Palmira Muniz.
Our senior producer is Laura Swisher. This is a production of Maximum Fun.